A base you and everyone who plays on 9b90 knows. A base that is famous around the server. One of the two bases I've been a part of that has engraved itself onto the pages of history of 9b90. I've never really had a chance to talk more about the bases I've been a part of, and especially not talking about those that are recognized by pretty much everyone has made me a bit disappointed. But today I shall tell you everything about one. Piecing together all the screenshots, records and memories of both me and Schwarz, today I will talk about the entire history of the Miraculous base, a base that survived a year under 30,000 blocks from spawn, Stoneberg. So, let's begin. The year is 2019. In April, Schwarz has joined 9b90 for the first time. At first, he wouldn't use any mods, he was just a regular vanilla player. During April and most of May, he would venture out of spawn farther and farther, on foot, in search of a good location to build a base. 9b90 was still an underground anarchy server back then, with player counts being a dozen or two during peak hours, so spawn was pretty calm. On May 28th, Schwarz would find a perfect place for a base. A swamp, around 25,000 blocks away from spawn, with no signs of player activity around. He decided to build his entire base underground, so new players who would play without the use of hack clients would not accidentally discover his base. The first street halls were pretty basic, inspired from his past Minecraft builds from 2011. He started building farms and a workshop, as back then he was still relying on growing his own food to survive. He also invited his IRL friend, Zebra94, to the base, who also dug himself a small house. The base was very little at that time. Schwarz did not spend that much time on the little room that he made, as he considered the entire base as his house. He wanted Stoneberg to become a city that anyone could join, but for now, it had to be a secret, as he didn't know anything about 9b90 and the player base, and so was reluctant of inviting other people out of the fear of the base getting griefed. After a bit of struggle, Schwarz was able to bring a bunch of cows, as he really wanted to make a log, a book that would document everything that would happen at Stoneberg. A journal, he said. For about a week, the base would be slowly expanded with new holes being dug out to accommodate more builds. After that, Schwarz decided to explore the area around the base, and then stumbled upon some ruins of an old shack. It wasn't that impressive, but helped him to understand how active the server is and how close to spawn he decided to build. However, that did not stop him from continuing to expand Stoneberg further. In the following week, the library, brewing room and more hallways were constructed. Note that because both Schwarz and Zebra were vanilla players at the time, they were using unenchanted iron pickaxes due to the lack of diamonds. Nowadays, people take max enchanted diamond gear as for granted, but back then, especially with no hacked clients, it definitely wasn't so common. As the hallways grew longer, Schwarz decided to put up a minecart system to ease navigation. It wouldn't grow very large, however, as it wasn't expanded after that, and adding the poor TPS at the time, it wasn't very convenient either. It was around that time when Schwarz decided the base needed something big and iconic, something that would help the base, stand out from others. And so, he and Zebra started digging out a huge area with iron pickaxes that would become the hub of the base in the future. The progress was slow, with TPS being low and them digging with iron pickaxes. It was very daunting and required tons of effort. It felt overwhelming whenever Schwarz would look at how seemingly little he had achieved in comparison to what had to be done. Because of that, Schwarz would take breaks from digging the hub and dig smaller builds that he could at least finish in a reasonable amount of time. He needed a bigger farm, so he built one downstairs from the main street. He also found some monster spawners, which he left to build a mob grinder in the future, a build that would never actually be built. Since the hub was going to be huge, the leftover stone was filling all the storage at Stoneberg pretty quickly. Therefore, in the corner of the work in progress hub, a new storage area was constructed. This time, Schwarz wanted to make it look nice, so later he would decorate it with quartz to give it that clean, polished look. In the early days, Schwarz's IRL friends were pretty active, so they helped with a bunch of digging and hard labor that had to be put into Stoneberg. The progress, however, with the hub being as big as it was going very slowly. Schwarz started to put some grass down as he was bored of looking at blank stone. Around the time, a friend of his claimed a corner of the hub as his and never locked back in to do anything with it. So Schwarz decided to label it for him, hence the iconic Shane Gay build in a corner. Nice reminder that claiming a piece of land and not doing anything with it is indeed gay. As August 2019 was approaching, digging the hub was becoming very tedious. Schwarz was slowly going insane from all the work that had to be put into digging and just digging. By early August, he had become the only active member at the base. On August 6th, he created the first iteration of the Stoneberg banner, which would become iconic after the base's destruction. Around mid-August, Schwarz couldn't take it anymore. He was sick of having to dig so much and decided to take a break from digging and go explore the server. He needed shulkers, but he knew that finding them in the end would be extremely difficult and dangerous. Also around that time, Stoneberg saw its first grief. It wasn't anything significant, just a couple chests broken from someone ESPing and seeing chests underground. There unfortunately is no footage of that, but it happened around the 23rd of August. This has discouraged Schwarz a bit, as he thought he would have to abandon Stoneberg since it would be griefed soon. Because of that, Schwarz logged in less and less, and by September he was pretty much inactive. However, on November the 11th, he came back and he had installed a hacked client. Worst might not be the best client, but certainly better than nothing. He had found a player head and a shulker while making his way to Stoneberg, and finally got back to his creation. The griefer had mostly just destroyed chests, but he didn't grief at all. With Timer, he was able to dig the remaining stone in the hub with ease, and by the end of November, the first iteration of the temple had been built. In December, the hub was expanded further, and Schwarz realized he needed to dig higher, as the height was not enough. He also wanted some more blocks like sea lanterns and more materials and plants, so he went on a quest to find them. It definitely took a while. He left on the 17th and didn't find anything until January the 4th, 2020, as he ventured to the end. It was dangerous, but he managed to survive, unfortunately not finding any unrated end cities. At that time, Schwarz installed Impact, a better client with which he felt brave enough to go to the spawn and try to steal some gear, in which he succeeded. After that, he came back to Stoneberg. With Schwarz getting a bit more accustomed to the community, he decided to invite other people to the base. The first person he had invited was Zeta, a person he first met at spawn when both were naked. He wanted to make friends with him, so he offered him gapples. Zeta replied with, "No thanks, I'm pretty stacked," to which Schwarz asked if he could spare a kit then, and the answer was surprisingly yes. Since Zeta was so generous, Schwarz decided to take him to Stoneberg, saying it was a short walk in the nether from spawn. Zeta really liked the base and decided to help with the base, building and helping to decorate. Schwarz still wanted more people at the base, so he built a hotel for new players if any found the base or were invited. On January 22nd, Schwarz would stumble upon a stash with a lot of materials and gear, not so far from Stoneberg. It seemed abandoned, so he brought a lot of the materials to Stoneberg's storage area and used some of them to further decorate the base. Around the end of January, Schwarz finally began digging out the ceiling he always wanted to dig. It went a lot faster than before due to the usage of maxed gear and hacks, but still was a manual and daunting task. Using the spare time, Schwarz would explore the spawn area further, finding the Obsidian City and a lot of other interesting landmarks. At the end of February, through a Reddit comment and a short chat, a new member would arrive. A member who would breathe new life into the base. Yeah, that's me. Hello. I built my first build after arriving in around a day, being a big lava cave with a cross at the end. I wasn't sure about the base's survival, it being very close to spawn was a major red flag for me, but I kept going. I thought it was a good opportunity to make some friends and get to know people. In the following days, I'd built a bit more and then had to leave for two reasons. First, I wanted to check out Obsidian City, which was gaining popularity at the time, and second, because we were missing a bunch of materials. I had a stash at a different solo base, so I went out to travel there in order to bring some materials. I was back within a week and started on working on more builds at the base. Since it wasn't the beginning of the COVID pandemic, I had a lot of time on my hands since we all were forced to quarantine at home. So in around 2 weeks I managed to expand the base to around 2 times its original size. Also at the time we managed to get our hands on a working dupe, so I went out to create a couple stashes and dupe materials needed at Stonen. In the middle of March, the base was found yet again, this time by a bunch of Taiwanese, let's just say it, retards. There were 3 of them, they barely spoke English and were just very noobish. Fortunately they left soon and didn't grief, but it still was a major red flag. Elytras got re-enabled, so we were 100% sure the end is near. On March the 30th, we finally ran out of luck. The base was found by a bunch of people, who told another bunch of people, and we knew some of them will grief the base. We took the matter into our own hands and griefed Stoneberg with a bunch of friends on the 31st of March 2020. Since then, there have been 2 attempts at rebuilding Stoneberg. None of them made by us, but as you can imagine, both failed. Stoneberg stands grief to this day, and the coordinates are of public knowledge, so why not go there and see how it holds up? Visit and pay respects. Actually, let's do this. Alright, so I'm getting close to Stoneberg. I'm not hiding my coordinates, of course, because coordinates to Stoneberg are absolutely public and everyone knows them. So this portal should take me about a couple hundred blocks away from Stoneberg, and we can get to Stoneberg from here. Yep, it's 525 meters. As you can see, I have 2 Stoneberg waypoints because one of them is to the back entrance and one of them is the normal. Yeah, here's the back entrance, and we're gonna go to the normal entrance. We're gonna see how destroyed it is. Yeah, okay. That doesn't look good. Alright. I'm gonna keep on my Fulbright because it's gonna be pretty dark here. I'm gonna just show you how it looks without Fulbright. Oh, wait. There we go. Yeah, so not very pretty. So I'm gonna keep my Fulbright on. And we're gonna go down. So back in the day when Stoneberg was actually intact, here was a big staircase that we had to enter the base. There was actually a piston door, and yeah, that's how you got in the base. Alright, so okay, so there's a lot of withers here. We might want to avoid those. Okay, so we can see definitely a lot has been griefed of the base. Here's a lava cast someone made, okay. But it's still recognizable. So you can see the signs of here, if you go here, you can see the signs of the attempted reconstructions. None of them were made by us, but yeah, sad phase Zeta, yeah. But, you know, people have tried. My house is still barely standing. And people have tried to reconstruct Stoneberg, but, you know, it's kind of pointless because the coordinates are public, everyone knows them, people come here every now and then to, you know, pay respects and see how the base looked like in person. I mean, there is a world download that I provided if you want to see the base intact, but I would highly recommend you to actually go on the server. It's, you know, interesting sight to see. If you go here, I believe, yeah, the temple here is a bit less destroyed. There's some signs of attempted expansion. Pretty weird. Here was the tomb of Lunch Lady's cat, which died, unfortunately. Lunch Lady's Schwarz. And here, oh, some items, so someone has been here recently. And the original signboard that... Holy shit, it's actually intact. Wait, let me just... 9BNT is doing some weird shit. Oh shit, the actual... This is the original signboard. And yeah, it's the original sign that I put up when I came here. Holy shit. So that would be it for my Stoneberg video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, I guess. Maybe subscribe. I make a lot of 9BNT content. And, you know, maybe you should try and make your base yourself. It's a pretty fun process, you know.